things that we're doing have really given me such tremendous hope and many hundreds of thousands of people that I feel obliged to at least share it with you. Putting things into context, I'm currently in Cape Town for the lockdown. However, for the past 3 years, more or less, I had left South Africa. We were based in Johannesburg before, and we moved to Kenya for professional reasons, as things were not going well for our projects there. I work in the large-scale power sector with Spaniards, and I was asked to go and fix a very bad situation. Very quickly I moved there and my family followed suit. I was asked also if I could diversify our interest out of Kenya, because for the past 10 years we had only focused all of our eggs in Kenya when it comes to the East African region. And so my family came, and it was in spite of the very high pressure situation I was sent there for. It was an absolute beautiful experience to have my family there. My wife loved it. We had a beautiful home. We had a driver. Everything was absolutely superb. And then a couple of events came to shake the foundations of this pretty picture and got me really thinking along lines that are a bit out of the box. The first event was the fact that about a year ago, we heard the very sad news one morning of the passing of my father-in-law in South Africa. So we decided to return to Cape Town, where my wife is from, for the ceremonies. And then my wife decided that she wanted to be home. She didn't want to be far away anymore, at least for some time, so that she could be close to her brother for healing. And so I organized an apartment for my wife and my son, and I returned to East Africa on my own. And so this was a very different experience, as my wife and I are very close. And of course, you guys know that it's absolutely precious to have children. And I was now away from my son. My son is very young. At the time, he was about 2.5. Now he's just over 3. And so it was a very different experience. However, it already got me thinking outside of the box, because I thought that if I want to be reunited with my family, there's only 2 ways to do that. Either I'll move back to South Africa, and so I need to start thinking about income if my primary source of income is disrupted, or they come back, and this my wife was not ready to do yet. Okay, so it got me thinking about generating income, at least beginning to generate income in alternative ways. And then very quickly, a second event came to shake those foundations further. And this was the lockdown of Wuhan. And so we all knew that the situation was a strange situation, but for me it was more serious than for most of my friends or my family members. Why? Because first of all, my family was away from me, so I imagined that if such a situation was to happen to me in East Africa, or was to happen to my family in South Africa, that we are somehow find ourselves in a confinement due to this situation, then things could become very dangerous. I had seen also some videos on YouTube of people, either if they test positive, they get dragged to isolation centers, kicking and screaming, or alternatively, some people were literally nailed into their homes. I saw sanitary and security personnel literally put beams across the doors of people and then nailing people inside their homes. I even saw some videos at the time of trucks being loaded with rocks and sand, reversing and then dumping the rocks and the sand in front of people's gates to prevent infected people from coming out. So I was very, very concerned, even though my peers at the time were saying that there isn't much to worry about. The Chinese have it under control, and apparently many people thought like that, including governments that were a bit caught off guard, and they were saying that this will be sorted by the Chinese. The second reason this situation in Wuhan was of particular concern for me was because I saw on my TV and on YouTube that the streets were empty, commerce had ground to a halt and everything else. And so I began to wonder how people are expected to generate income in a situation like that. particularly if this scenario lasts for any amount of time, what happens to people's ability to generate income, particularly if their income is tied to a certain location or certain activity, and now they're finding themselves confined. And so these two events really forced me to think outside of the box. And this is when I was directed to meet someone in Kenya who is a young trader